listening to the latest episode of The Ugly Truth. Today, I recap my flu shot visit. Also, UFC has come and gone. We have our thoughts and opinions on that. Plus, we also recap things we did not talk about in 2019. Paula has a list. This and Ugly and Awkward Moments of the Week. Thank you so much. Enjoy the show.
It's another uncensored look at the world around you, from sisters who will say just about anything to anyone at any time. It's the Uggs. Jamie?
I'm glad he's dead.
Paula?
It's not that bad.
Uncensored as always, it's time for the Ugly Truth.
Welcome to the Ugly Truth. This is episode 433. Producer Deb told me today when we were getting ready to record, he goes, guess what? This is the 2-year anniversary of you guys doing 2 shows a week. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah. He goes, officially January 13th of 2018, you guys did your official second show of the week. And I was like, well, that's kind of an odd thing. But you know what? Guys that are into baseball and football and stats and all that, they remember shit like that. Like, if you were to say, who scored a home run in the 3rd inning in the World Series Game 3 in 2010, and Daryl would know it. He would know it. He'd be like, oh, that was Buster Posey, blah, 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 blah. That was when, da, 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 da. That's how guys are. So when he told me that weird statistic, I was like, interesting. I'm curious what other stats we have on our show. Like, what else is there?
What other useless knowledge
What other useless information that will do us no good do you have for us? Okay, so of course, everyone's talking about this new virus that's coming out of the Asian countries.
Okay, that just came out today, right?
No, it came out about a week or 2 ago. I had read a little blurb before, anybody picked up steam on it in the United States that people are dying in China from the coronavirus, I think they're calling it, because it's kind of like SARS. It's coming from animals. And somehow animals have transmitted it to humans.
Are people having sex with animals again?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's a livestock thing. I'm not quite sure. I haven't read in depth, but what I did read was they're dying. There's 17 people have died, and they're now creating these screenings in all the big airports before they can leave the country in China or Korea, wherever it's from. And I'm like, what if the incubation period is like ridiculously long? Like, what if it's like a 14-day incubation period and you're heading to the United States or Europe? No one's going to know you're sick. What's the point? That doesn't do anybody any good. So, of course, it was found in Washington 2 days ago. A man has it.
The state of Washington?
The state of Washington. And so I said, so what that means to me...
Well, they're just a bunch of hippies up there and they don't vaccinate.
Well, what that means to me is... it's already in Disneyland, it's already in San Francisco, and it's already in LA. There's no way that shit has not already infiltrated California. There's no way. It's here. It has to be. So out of concern for my own self, I went out and got a flu shot yesterday.
You hadn't had a flu shot yet?
No, I've been putting it off. And I mean, I've been putting it off for like 2 months.
January. You should have gotten that thing back at the end of September, for crying out loud.
I know. I was supposed to get it on Halloween. And
you know what? You probably already have it. Your flu shot's not going to help you.
I don't have the flu.
No, but you already have that, bronchitis thing or whatever it's called. I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, so I got the flu shot.
Converse. I don't know what it's called.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have a flu.
Chinese flu is.
I don't have the coronavirus. Doesn't that sound like they got it from a dog to me? It's not canovirus, but it sounds like it. Carnivore. Like a bear or something? I don't know. Carnivore. Carnivirus. Maybe. And you know what? It's probably not even the word. I'm sure it's wrong.
I'm going to have to look it up. I'm
now
sure
you're going to have to look it up.
Terribly wrong. It's going to be something completely different.
So yesterday I had to run to the grocery store. I had to go pick up my glasses from the orthodontist, the ophthalmologist.
Whoa. It's a one-stop shop, man.
Right? And so I said, we have to go to the store. So we ran to the store and I walk in, I walk straight up to the pharmacy and Daryl's like, what are you doing? Do you have a prescription? And I go, can I get a flu shot? And they're like, oh yeah, absolutely. Fill out this form, blah, blah, blah. And Daryl goes, what are you doing? I go, I'm getting a flu shot. And he thinks when I say that and I look at him, that means he's getting one too.
So does he instantly go pale?
He literally backed up, turned around and left. He walked down the aisle.
He would rather die than get a flu shot.
Yes. And so he goes, well, I'm not getting one. I'm like, well, no one's forcing you to. You're a grown-ass man. You want to die from the flu? By all means, go ahead. I'm young. I'll start fresh. And so
it looks like it's called the coronavirus.
Coronavirus. Okay.
At least that's how I'm pronouncing it.
Well, probably right.
It's spelled corona and then with the word virus at the end.
Then it is coronavirus. You know what? I knew that beer was bad. I knew it.
Coronavirus reaches U.S. Death toll climbs. Everything we know about the virus.
Dun, dun, dun.
China coronavirus death rise to 17, heightening global alarm.
Hey, you know what? That's a lot of people from a virus that they just discovered.
547 infected, says China.
Which means they're here. It's here, everyone. So anyway, I'm like, yo, get the flu shot. I know it's not the same thing. I realize it has nothing to do with anything, but it just reminded me that, you know, there's no reason not to add a few immunities if you can help it. It's not going to stave anything off, but it might. So I got the flu shot and the lady was really nice. She goes, are you allergic to eggs? And I'm like,
I know,
no.
they always say that.
I'm like, allergic to eggs? What's in here? What is in this?
It's because they bind it to like egg whites or something.
So, you know, the problem is when you go to a pharmacy or whatever, not your doctor, they're not graceful when they give you the inoculation. So
Where'd you go?
I went to Bel Air. I went to my pharmacy.
Oh, okay.
And it was free because I shop there and my insurance is on file and everything. So they don't charge anybody anything. It's kind of like a community service.
Yeah.
So I just walked in and I took, I lifted up my shirt. She goes, which arm do you want? I go, well, I better give you my left in case something bad happens and I need to write because I'm right-handed. Mm-hmm. So she asked me all the weird things. I got the shot. It hurt like hell. I was not happy.
She must not do it very often.
Well, Daryl watched. And, well, first he averted his eyes and then he turned right at the time that she poked me and he goes, she stabbed you with that thing. And I'm like, I know. It felt like it.
Well, they have to put the needle like all the way. It's like
in your muscle.
It's all the way into the freaking like vial tip. But the thing is when we got ours, we filmed ourselves getting our flu shots.
I know.
And I was like stone cold Steve Austin.
Me
and
too.
So the kids were looking at me and then she was done. And then she started putting the Band-Aid on and Olivia's like, did she give it to you already? I'm like, yes.
Yeah,
and she's just like, but you didn't even make a face. I'm like, I know. So I'm like, it's not that bad.
It's not.
Because I was trying to trying to not psych him out or anything.
Of course
like that.
not. You wanted to go,
Of course, Ryan was like practically in convulsions, having a panic attack. And I'm like, for F's sakes, Ryan.
I think for them, it's more of the build up to the actual thing. Because once it's done, every child does say, did you do it already? Oh, I didn't realize.
You should have seen him when he had to get his
and then they laugh and cry.
Then when he had to get his first blood draw, I'm like, oh my God. I'm going to have to give him a Xanax.
Here, eat this brownie. Yeah, it's true. So anyway, afterwards, she goes, was that okay? And I go, it's fine. I've had children. I've had way worse than this. And she starts
I'd be
laughing.
like, actually not. You might want to practice on an orange. Go to produce.
Please. And get a grapefruit or something. Yeah, it was rough, but I just didn't care. I wanted to get it done. I wanted to feel better. And of course, I'm running a low-grade fever today, of course, because that's what happens. But I feel better about it. I encourage everyone who is able to get a flu shot, get the flu shot. I know you guys are really good about it. I don't get it every year, but I definitely felt like this is the year. The statistics, there are more flu cases and people are dying from it than last year. So I'm like, I'm not fucking with this.
Well, the big concern usually is children and the elderly. So
that's me. I'm the elderly.
You're not the elderly, for fuck's sake.
I know. Anyway, moving on. So Daryl will die, but the rest of us will live on, and it's fine. So you came over to my house last weekend, and we got to watch the UFC together.
Yes.
I thought overall the card was good. I mean, it was a little bit of a letdown because the final fight, which you and I both knew was not going to go past the first round. I mean, we have our favorites, but we also know we're not, we're realists. Mm-hmm. We realize that McGregor was going to just mop the floor with him. So, and he did. 40 seconds. Well, just like that.
I have a whole theory about the whole fight anyway. When the fight was announced like months ago, I suspected, I'm like, okay, obviously they want to bring Conor back. They want to promote him big. I mean, even if you watched every promotion for that fight, I never saw Cowboy once. All they were promoting was Connor. Connor. He was like on every poster, every ad, every, video. It's just like, if they did show Cerrone, he was somewhere fuzzed out in the background. And so I'm like, okay, clearly this is going to be Connor's fight. Right. And I said, and they couldn't have picked a better opponent because Cerrone is slower than molasses when he fights.
And everybody loves him, though.
I mean, he's excellent, but he's slow. And so I'm like, you're basically picking, a crazy, jalapeno bean fighter versus, a slug.
Slow and steady.
Not to say the slug isn't good. He is, but he's not fast. And, Connor, he's ridiculously fast and he's extraordinarily accurate with his strikes. And
what he reminds me of, actually, McGregor, is when our mom, I don't know if you recall this, but our mom and dad tried to teach us how to fight because they are from the streets. They were not pampered children, and they fought a lot and had to defend themselves a lot. And dad taught us how to punch through and to kick guys in the nuts and to not feel bad about it. Right. And our mom taught me, she said, when you are going to get into a fight, the best thing you can do, first of all, is hit first and let the first punch be the last punch. But if that doesn't happen because the person can take it, or you missed or something, fight close and fast. And so she did it to me. Like, she didn't hurt me, but she got up in my face and started slapping me like a bee flaps its wings all over my chest, my arms, my face, my head. And that's what McGregor does. He goes in as close as he can. There's no personal space. And he just starts wailing on his opponents. And he's obviously, he can punch really freaking hard.
Yes, he does.
I mean, hard. And so, anyway, go on.
Well, so I automatically suspected that they gave him Cerrone to fight because it was going to be a sure thing. Because Cerrone is just not nearly as fast as Cowboy, or Cerrone is just not nearly as fast as Connor. Right. And so out the gate, Connor was just going to, inundate him with punches, and Cowboy was just going to be taken aback. And Cowboy has like a half chin. He doesn't have a full chin, at least not anymore.
He's 36, and that's the magic number.
And if you give him like 3 good punches, that jostles him to the point where he just can't stand anymore.
What was weird is he actually, you and I talked about this. McGregor did he did the John Jones things where he punched him with his shoulder.
Okay, but see, the thing is, so this is exactly how it went down. They came at each other. Connor came in with a big left. Cerrone ducked because he knew the big left was coming. But while he was ducking, he was going in for the clinch.
Takedown. Mm-hmm.
Connor knew he was coming in for the takedown. Right. So he started kicking his legs backwards.
Right.
And so that way Cerrone couldn't grab his hands around his leg or waist.
Right.
And then from that point, I think that they started holding on to each other. And freaking Connor not only was doing the shoulder thing, because Jones will do the shoulder thing, but he kind of just does it to kind of like pop him in the face a little bit. Just kind of, it almost looks like jovial. It doesn't look like a real tactic.
I don't want to be shoulder punched by John Jones.
Okay,
I think that would hurt.
The way Connor was doing it, it reminded me of like really bad elbows when you're on the ground.
Oh, for sure. Well, he broke his nose. He broke his nose with his shoulder, So
that was definitely a new trick for him. And so was the back leg kicking. Those were totally new tricks for him.
He trained with John Jones over the summer, and that's where he picked up that shit. And it was brilliant. I mean, I have always been a fan of McGregor. What I hate is that he always is matched up with someone I love. So it's so hard, but he admitted he was rusty. I absolutely loved his demeanor in the ring. I love that that Cerrone's grandmother came in and talked to McGregor. There was no love lost. I mean, there was no bad feelings. Cerrone hopefully got a great payday out of it.
I think he did.
I mean, they said that $10 million split, that they would each get a split of a $10 million purse.
That's good.
So that's a great payoff for Cerrone, which is one of the reasons. But Cerrone will never say no to a fight. He even said, he goes, I'll fight till I die. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And that's why people love him. And that's why I love him.
The only part that made me sad is after Cerrone was pretty much, his eye was puffed, his nose was broken, and he backed up. What took him down was Connor gave him a big left high kick to the face.
Which is what Cerrone
and
does.
I'm just like, that's Cerrone's move. That's like fucking his wife. I mean,
well, and actually McGregor even said that. I know. He's known for his leg kicks, and I got him with a leg kick.
And I'm just like, you might as well just screw his wife in the octagon in front of him. I'm just like, that's so messed up. And then we talked about his precision. Like, he was literally punching like Cowboy through like a 5x5 hole.
It was
beautiful.
It's just so good.
This is probably, in my opinion, one of Connor's best performances. Oh, yeah. And the only reason why I say that is because he was just so on. It was almost like a dance performance, in my opinion, because he did exactly what he was supposed to do. He had new moves this time that worked really well. And he just knew exactly what he needed to do when being, attacked by this other opponent. Yeah. And I was really, I can't stand him. I know. But I absolutely applaud his performance. Yeah, because it was good. It was really good. It was very combative and very precise, and I was really, really impressed.
The other fight that I really enjoyed watching was the veteran versus the rookie, the women, Roxanne versus JC, I think was her name, Macy.
She
tore her ACL, and she did not forfeit. She fought that out all 3 rounds. I mean, and then the thing that made it was really sweet was when she was leaving, her mom was in the audience, and she went, as she was, limping out with her crew, her mom leaned over and hugged her. And of course, the fighter started crying immediately when she saw her mom, which I thought, you know what? You raised a badass daughter. Like, you did it right. This girl is tough, and I hope she comes back. And even her opponent, Roxanne, who is considered one of the premier MMA women fighters, gave her so much kudos. She's like, are you kidding me? She had a torn ACL, and she did not forfeit. That is fucking badass. That is pimp. You don't not do that,
So I read on some of the forums, and we must have missed this at some point.
What?
But the young girl, she's only 21.
She's a baby.
She actually got a lot of shit because I guess she interrupted. Was it Safari? Is that the girl's name? She interrupted her interview and took the mic and started talking and shouting out about, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that.
Well, she got humbled.
And so everyone online was talking about, like, that's so rude. The other girl is like, hardcore veteran, you don't do that shit. And then people started posting pictures of like Kanye West and, when he took them like
that's hilarious.
Taylor Swift.
I mean, she's 21 and she's trying to make a name for herself. She's an up and comer and she has a lot of talent. And so she got humbled, though. Hardcore got humbled. She lost. Yeah. And she was the one.
Well, this was after the match. And so, this was after
she's 21. Yeah. 21-year-olds don't know shit. So there you go.
Someone else said, this makes me like Van Zandt even more. And I'm like, what the fuck does Paige Van Zandt have to do with all of this? But I guess her and Paige Van Zandt have like this huge rift. And I'm just like, I'm like, it doesn't matter if you like Paige Van Zandt or not. I'm like, she's got one contractual fight left. And I'm like, I hope whoever it is, they
breaks her nose.
I'm like, I hope they ruin her face. I'm like, that would be my, I wouldn't care if I lose or win or not. I said, my main goal would be just to obliterate her face.
Oh, you're so mean. I like that.
I am.
It's true.
I'd be and every time I punch her in the face, I'd be like, Instagram.
All right. So enough of the UFC. Obviously, we're big fans, and I enjoyed the card, and of course, love that you guys came over.
Yes, it was good.
With that being said, you had a doctor's appointment last week and you were waiting in this stupid waiting room, and there was actually a current magazine on the table, and you picked it up and started reading it, and you said you found some very interesting things that we may have missed that happened in 2019, and you wanted to tell me a couple of them because I'm literally totally oblivious. I have no idea what you're going to say.
Well, I mean, it just was talking about like, it just was started talking about like a brief summary of things that happened in 2019. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I don't even think we talked about like what happened. And sometimes things happen and we're just like, oh yeah, I completely forgot.
All right, tell me one.
So some of the top stories, one of the big ones was the college admission scandal. Which
yes.
It's still going on,
yes.
but I'm like, that did happen last year.
We did.
Reason, I thought that's been going on for like 2 years now.
In fact, one of the actresses, I can't remember her name right now, the blonde
Lori
one.
Loughlin.
No. The other one.
Oh, Felicity Huffman?
Felicity Huffman pled guilty, has served her time, and is on and moving on with her life. She's done and done.
She did her 6 days or 7 days. She did her community service. She paid her fine, and she's done with, she's on with life.
And by the way, that's exactly how I would have done it.
Freaking Lori Loughlin, her and her husband think they're going to fight it. And
yes, and she's got a prison coach now. She's going to, they've got.
Why would they do that? I mean, is it no longer an option for them to plead guilty?
Well, they still haven't pled guilty. They refuse to, and they're just dragging this out. And what's the worst is the girls dropped out of the college. They don't even go there anymore, like at all. There's no affiliation. There's nothing. So I don't think she's going to prison. Personally, I think they'll plead out. She'll pay some ridiculous fine. One of the reasons is, I think, what I read earlier is that their checks were written directly to USC. They weren't written to the quote unquote coach. The problem is that they falsified a bunch of documents. They falsified photos, for Christ's sake.
Exactly, saying that they were on the rowing team. So,
yes. So
anyways,
all right.
We'll see what happens to that. Okay.
Yes.
Next, Jeffrey Epstein did he commit suicide or was he murdered?
He was murdered.
Well, yeah, there was that. And, my whole take on that is I'm like, who cares? But everyone's just like, well, he could have helped so many. I'm like, do you think that guy was going to say a fucking word?
Nope. They could have tortured him and he would have said nothing. That's why
he was killed. To be perfectly honest, who's to say that, he's not in witness protection somewhere right now and he did spill his guts. And
actually, I've seen the autopsy photos. He's dead.
Oh, he is dead. Okay.
Oh, yeah, he's dead. The thing is, though, is that his injuries that he sustained from his own hanging are more conducive to a choking and a murder than a self-inflicted hanging.
You know what? Good riddance. I don't care.
You know what? I'm with you on logically speaking, yes. The problem is that he had so much information. Nobody knows who he worked for because the dude never worked. He didn't work, and yet he was living an opulent lifestyle, and nobody knew how or why. Was he just a conduit to these very powerful men all over the world that wanted young girls? Which, by the way, I mean, it's so fucking revolting. I can't even.
Oh, it's gross.
I'm glad he's dead, and I'm with you. I don't think him being alive or dead was going to solve anybody's problem. So now the victims are suing his estate. But he wasn't stupid. He fixed it so that they can't get the money somehow.
Well,
I don't even know.
And even if, let's say, he did say something, that's all they would have is his statement. There's no evidence to back up anything. So
there may be. We just haven't found it yet. I hope they find it. I hope someone digs into this shit. I hope they find it. A lot of people think he was affiliated with, some government work so that he won't ever get.
Well, that's
outed.
what I'm saying is, I mean, Donald Trump was on the list. So, I mean,
Clinton was on the list.
I'm just saying there's no way that, the parties that be would ever let something like that get out. That's just my opinion.
Right.
Okay.
I'm glad he's dead, though. I hope the mob did it. Anyway, moving on.
Those crazy Boeing 737 MAX airplanes.
Yes.
Do you remember those things? Okay.
Yeah, I've flown on one.
God.
Our mom flew on one and almost crashed into Arizona.
Okay, so what they discovered was engineers actually knew that there was something wrong with the airplanes. They told the company that there's something wrong with these airplanes, and they did nothing. And so ultimately what they figured out from the 2 planes crashed and they killed a total of 346 people.
Yes.
And what they said is that there was a sensor sending information to like the control system that forced the plane to nosedive.
Right.
And it was something that they couldn't override because it was this faulty sensor. And so that's what caused these planes to crash. And so they said it's literally going to be like the biggest hit that Boeing will ever probably have in the history of its life.
Well, Boeing's CEO has already stepped down, but he still is being held accountable.
He stepped down, but he got like a $325 million, retirement.
He did, but he also has to face, I believe he's already faced the FCC or the FAA. He's testified in front of Congress, and he was not treated nicely. Like, they were like, what the fuck, dude? You knew about this? And then also, that reminds me, our mom was on one flying from California to Arizona, and then she was switching Arizona to Florida to go see her sisters. And that was the one where they said you need to brace for impact. She was literally like, she wrote her name and social on her arm, and she literally was bracing her arm or her hand like in her lap with a pillow because they were certain that they were going to crash.
God,
and she said, I was just like, and I told you, I mean, obviously.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I told you the story, but she said all I could think of was, I can't, it's teary, how much she loved us. See?
Okay, stop it.
If this had happened to our mom, I would be getting that $300 million. That's all I'm saying.
I'd find that guy on the street and I'd beat the shit out of him.
There's no fucking way I would let that go.
You know what? I don't care about money.
The 300 plus, that's not, but what I'm saying is the 300 plus people who lost their lives. Think about how many thousands of people were affected by their death.
Right.
That fool should be living in a shelter.
That's just the thing is like no amount of money is going to replace anybody. But,
but that's what affects those people, though. Losing his life would be better to him than being poor.
Feeling his face being beat by my fists, that you can't replace that. That's excellent. I don't care about money. Buying expensive shoes isn't going to bring mom back.
It's not about that. It's not about that. It's about making them uncomfortable to the point of destitute. It's just but and we can have both. We can hit him too.
I'd rather just drag him into a dark alley wearing a ski mask and scare the shit out of him until he shits his pants, and then I just beat him senseless. But that's just my opinion. Okay,
yeah, that's fine. One more. Give me one good one.
Oh, what good one?
Give me one good one. One more.
I have a few. Okay. Luke Perry died last year.
I know. That was really sad.
He was 52. He had a stroke.
I know. I remember. I mourned his loss.
That was severely insane. I couldn't believe that.
Well, I mean, not to. I mean, give me another one because we did talk about it.
Okay, so breakups, Jeff and Mackenzie Bezos of Amazon.
Yes.
She and him got together. They were married for a year before he started creating Amazon in his garage.
Right.
Believe it or not, they were married for 26 years.
Yeah.
When they split up, she got 25% shares in Amazon, which equaled about $35 billion. And then she got about $2.1 billion in assets or cash. And
making her the second richest woman in the world, I believe.
Exactly. Even after all of that, he's still the richest man in the world.
Yeah.
Guess why they divorced?
He was cheating on her.
Another woman.
Yeah.
That other woman worth $37.1 billion. She better have a fucking tight ass golden pussy because.
You want to hear the worst part of that whole scenario is that it was the new woman's brother leaked nudes and text messages to the National Enquirer. And that's how that happened.
I bet you he didn't get $37.1 billion for that.
The mistress's brother did it.
Jamie Foxx and Katie Holmes broke up last year.
Don't care. Next.
Bradley Cooper and Irina Shayk broke up.
We talked about that. Yeah.
William Shatner and his fourth wife of 18 years broke up. They divorced. William Shatner is 88 years old.
So did Larry King. He bumped off his seventh wife.
My whole thing is, you're 88 years old. You've been married to this person for 18 years. What the fuck do you think you're going to find or do You're like literally less than 10 years from death.
This is what I think when I think of these octogenarian celebs is I think if they're not happy and they've just been sticking it out, they divorce them so that when they die, these women don't get all their stuff. That's what I think.
But what? So what do they think? It's just going to go to the birds? I mean,
no, they'll settle out and then he'll do. But people are petty, Paula. If you don't like the person you're married to and you're going to divorce them because you'll settle out and say, here's your chunk of money, leave me the fuck alone. They die and then their money goes to where they want it to go. Maybe they have children from another wife that they wouldn't get because of this bitch. We don't know. We have no idea.
Okay,
anyway,
so last but least, Danny Aiello, 86. He died of a brief illness, but we most love him from Moonstruck.
We talked about it.
I just letting you know. That's what happened in 2019. So
all right. Well, those were good ones. And we did not talk about, what's cool about that list that you discussed is that we don't talk about a lot of current events. And we obviously have our opinions. We just don't talk about them because we try to keep it light. But those are very good recaps of things that we probably would have loved to talk about.
Of course, I didn't bring up what everyone's going to say is the biggest story, but it's because I just don't care.
Weinstein or Cosby?
No, the president started to get impeached.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't think he's been impeached, Paula.
Well, I mean, they started impeachment proceedings, but I'm just like, I don't. No,
he was impeached. He was impeached. He will always forever be impeached. They're just now deciding whether or not they're going to remove him from office or let him stay. That's all that's happening.
My whole thing is I'm just like, if you don't know that, then you live under a rock.
Yeah, really. We don't need to tell you. There'll be somebody's listening going, what?
Who? I rely on you guys for my news.
All right. Well, let's move on to our Ugly and Awkward Moments of the week. This is the Awkward Family Situations edition. And this was actually, now I do not watch the Late Show with, not Late Show. I don't watch the NBC one. What's that show called with the guy with the thing?
Jimmy Fallon?
No. Yes, Jimmy Fallon. I don't watch that show. I'm not a fan of that shit. It's too saccharine.
He just thinks he's so funny, but I'm just like...
he thinks he's adorable.
And I'm just like, your guests are funny, but I find you to look really feminine now. Whoever does your makeup, it's not good.
Well,
and
he's always kind of looked like one of those puppets.
He was better on Saturday Night Live, and that's all I liked him in.
Yeah. His thing was always looking at the camera and laughing, and some people find that infuriating. I don't, whatever. He was good in that movie.
I liked him best with him and Rachel Dratch when they played like the kids from Boston that were always making out.
Oh, yeah. That was really good.
They were funny. And then
those were good.
They were in a car, and then maybe it wasn't them. Maybe it was somebody else. And then someone turned on the wiper fluid. She's like, ah, ah! And she started spraying all over her chest.
He was in a really good movie with Drew Barrymore about the Red Sox. I can't remember. I think it was called Home Run.
Oh, the baseball movie. I thought you were going to say freaking Taxi with Queen Latifah. And I'm just like, I don't even know you right now.
No. That movie, it was actually really good. I've watched it a few times and I actually really like it because he's kind of playing himself. So, all right, here we go. Awkward Family Situations edition. Here's the first one. I walked downstairs around 2 o'clock in the morning at a very normal pace, not really thinking anything of it. What do you know? There's my brother just having a fap at the family computer. He jumps up and runs around the corner, and it's very obvious that I know that he knows that I just saw him. There was about a 10-second, what the fuck just happened period, where he stood behind the corner and I stood on the stairs, both of us completely silent. I turned around and went back upstairs, and we have never even acknowledged that this event has taken place. Bro code.
I think, so it was two brothers?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it was a sister. Okay.
No, these are boys. I just think I can just visualize a guy standing on the stairs and a guy standing in the kitchen with his dick in his hand, just standing there both silently waiting for something to happen and not knowing what to do.
I don't know. I think the other guy would be like, my bad. I'm just getting a glass of water.
Or whatever. I mean, Carry on. Well, he did. He went back upstairs.
By the way, good choice.
Don't need that drink. That's the big thing with having a computer in a general room is there's really no privacy. Even if you try to get up at 3 a.m, someone's going to find you. There's just
I mean, at least now you have cell phones. I actually knew a guy. I don't know how we got on this subject, but we were talking about like at what age you start masturbating and stuff like that. And he said, I started masturbating when I found my brother in the bathroom masturbating.
Oh my God.
Because he's just like, what is he doing? And he's like, so I started doing it. And then he's like,
That's awkward.
He's like, I realized how great it felt, so I never stopped.
Oh my goodness. Awkward. I learned it from you, okay? I learned it from you. The reason I brought up Jimmy Fallon was they did a hashtag awkward family fights about the dumbest fights as a family you've gotten into. And they were really funny. They were really funny.
I can't think of anything.
Basically, what it was kind of like, a dad or someone refused to like stand down on something stupid. Like this has happened in our house, by the way, like literally has happened. This person, it says, in our 30s, my twin sister described to me an incident in high school that she'd never forgiven me for. It occurred on the balcony of our cafeteria. Our cafeteria didn't have a balcony. It was a dream, and she'd been upset about it for 15 years.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And this one said, our dumbest family fight. We once had to turn the car around on a family road trip because my dad was convinced he saw turkeys along the side of the road and none of us believed him. Newsflash, they were garbage bags.
That sounds like something Victor would do.
Right?
We got into, it wasn't an argument, but we were talking about the freaking Royals for some reason. Because I was telling him how Harry was like 10th in line to take the crown. And I was saying, yeah, I'm all after Queen Elizabeth dies, if she ever dies. And I said, it'll go Charles. And I said, that's why everybody says William will be like the real king. I said, because once Charles takes the crown, I'm like, he really won't have much life left in him.
Right.
And I said, so then it'll be William. And he's just like, I thought there was some kind of arrangement that the only way he could marry Camilla was if he did something. But I'm like, no, that's not true.
He's
like, I'm pretty sure. And I'm like, look it up. And he's just like, so
now you're fighting about the royals.
I'm like, just look it up. And he's just like, I'm pretty sure. I'm like, just look it up. I'm like, don't go on with your ignorance. Look it up. And so he looked it up, and then he recited. He's like, "Oh well, I guess you're right." And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I'm sorry. What was that? I barely heard your whisper."
Say it again, and with real style. Okay, here's the second awkward family situation edition. This one made me laugh. My dad's a school principal, and he went to a wine festival. And on his way home, slightly drunk on the train, he runs into the parents of a boy he used to teach. They get to talking this and that, and when my family friends, or when my dad asks how the boy is, the parents look shocked and say, "He passed away last year. You were at the funeral. You spoke."
Oops.
He apologized, but I think that's the most awkward story I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, I would laugh about it, but that's just me.
My bad. What? I'd be like, my bad. Like, what do you say?
Not only are you wine drunk on a train of all things, and you're like, "How's your son?" And I was like, "Well, he passed away last year. You were at the funeral. You spoke."
You don't recall?
Honestly,
it reminds me of that Reba McEntire song. What do you say at a moment like this?
I can't. You know what? Honestly, that is something I would do, and I'd be like, "Oh my god, yes, of course, of course."
If I was his wife or kid, I'd get up and be like, "I'm going to go to the bathroom."
And then
there's no bathrooms on the train. I don't know.
And then not only that, I would be digging into my brain trying to find the thing I said, like, I do recall speaking. You're right. I said blah, blah, blah. And I mean, I would make it way worse. I remember
what a fantastic young man he was.
I would have made it way worse by trying to back that up.
I could hear it. I remember what a fantastic young man he was. And they're like,
transgender.
He was exactly. I was just going to say that.
Yes.
Oh my God.
He was gay, but okay. Anyway. All right. So this last one, I wanted to go back to the weird family fights because this one made me laugh really hard, and then we'll close it out with this. My dad said that in the case of a zombie apocalypse, he would abandon his family to fend for himself. Let's just say this did not go over well with my mother. And Can you imagine getting into a fight with your spouse because he would leave you during a zombie apocalypse? Nothing that will ever happen. But the fact that his first instinct is to drop the dead weight and go off on his own and become a savage in the forest. It's like, what are you doing? I really related to that post because I thought about it.
I'm sure I'd think of something horribly mean to say. I'd be like, oh, great. They'd just view you as an appetizer with your peanut brain.
Yeah, I'd be like, they'd be still hungry. It's all right. You can go on. The rest of us will actually survive while you go off.
Well, we'd run out the back while you just offer your peanut brain.
Anyway, I thought it was really
They'd be like, oh, edamame.
nom, 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 nom. Next. Yeah,
that is funny.
I thought it was hilarious.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us. I hope you have a good rest of your week. We will be back on Sunday. The Super Bowl's like what, in a couple weeks?
Yeah, we're going to talk about it on Sunday's show.
Oh, okay. So, in the meantime, if you have shopping needs, please visit uglytruth.com. Click on the Amazon button. I will be going to lipandclip.com because for some reason, my eyeliners, I think I must have given myself pink eye at one point. And so now every time I use...
Are you still dealing with that?
I just used my eyeliners again. The next morning I woke up and I had discharge in my eye. And my eyes look like I... What?
Is it possible that Olivia, joked on you?
Put them up her butt or something?
No,
I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe tried to play with them and put her dirty little fingers on it or something.
I don't know what happened, but I've got to buy all new eyeliners because every time I use them, they turn bright red. My eyes do, not the eyeliners.
Stop.
And
they're so affordable on Lip and Clip, which is why I love them.
I know.
Yes.
So in fact, we're having a deal right now where it's like buy 3 for $10. So
nice.
Which it actually includes their lip liners too. So
sweet.
I don't need lip liner, but I'll buy 3 eyeliners. So
heck yeah.
Do that. I think that is about it. So thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you on Sunday.
Thanks for listening and sharing the show. See you next time on The Ugly Truth.